For over 400 years, one name has pretty much defined what we think of as great literature and theater: William Shakespeare. We all know him, right? He's the immortal wordsmith of the Renaissance, a guy whose genius literally helped shape the English language we're speaking right now. But behind all those legendary plays and sonnets, there's a story that's full of holes and one heck of a mystery. So, was he really the single greatest writer to ever put pen to paper? Just a once-in-a-millennium talent? Or is the official story we've all been told just a cover for one of history's most fascinating cold cases? That's the big question we're going to dig into. But before we jump into all the controversy and conspiracies, we got to meet the man himself. We need to ground this larger-than-life figure in the world he actually lived in, the loud, muddy, and chaotic streets of Elizabethan England. Okay, so let's get our bearings. He was born in 1564, right as the English Renaissance was really hitting its stride. His creative home, the legendary Globe Theatre, was built in 1599. But get this, it tragically burned to the ground in 1613 when a cannon used for special effects misfired during a show. Ouch. Just 3 years after that, in 1616, Shakespeare himself was gone, at the pretty young age of 52. Shakespeare famously called his theater a wooden O, and this incredible reconstruction, which opened back in 1997, really gives you a feel for his world. Now, here's a little tidbit I love. Notice that thatched roof? After the Great Fire of London in 1666, thatched roofs were banned for being, well, a massive fire hazard. This modern globe had to get special permission, making it the only building in the entire city with a thatched roof. How cool is that? So, why are we still so obsessed with him all these centuries later? What was it about his work that was so revolutionary? All right, let's break down the pillars of his genius. I mean, his impact was just immense. He wrote about themes, love, jealousy, ambition, that feel just as raw and real today as they did 400 years ago. He gave us characters that are so complicated, they feel like people you know. Think about Hamlet's agonizing indecision or Lady Macbeth's chilling ambition. The guy was also a linguistic powerhouse. He literally invented words we still use all the time. And he's the one who popularized the 5-act structure that became the blueprint for, well, almost all storytelling in the West. Now, a huge part of his signature style was his mastery of something called iambic pentameter. I know, it sounds super complicated and academic, but it's not. It's just a line of 10 syllables with a rhythm that goes like this: da-dum, 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 da-dum. What's so genius about it is that it's supposed to mimic the natural rhythm of a human heartbeat, which makes his poetry feel incredibly real and organic. And this is a perfect example. Just listen to the rhythm in this famous line from Romeo and Juliet. "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks." You can literally feel that heartbeat rhythm, right? That's the magic trick. It's what gives his language such a powerful, living pulse. And that pulse is so strong that it's kept beating for centuries, all the way into our modern era and onto a stage Shakespeare could have never, ever imagined: the movie screen. When Hollywood tackles his work, it usually goes one of two ways. You've got your classic, super faithful adaptations, think Guys in Tights, like Laurence Olivier's Oscar-winning Hamlet. But then, on the other hand, you get the wild reinventions, movies that take his basic stories and drop them into totally new and unexpected places. And I'm willing to bet you've seen one of these, and maybe didn't even realize its roots. The rival street gangs in West Side Story? That's just Romeo and Juliet. Simba's quest to avenge his father's death in The Lion King. That's Hamlet, through and through. His stories are just so powerful they work anywhere. But this incredible genius has also led to a pretty big question. Where did it all really come from? Because for all we know about his work, there's just so much we don't know about the man. And this is where our story takes a sharp turn, leaving literary history behind and heading straight into a full-blown detective mystery. This leads us to the most explosive question of them all. What if the man from Stratford didn't actually write the plays? This is the so-called authorship question, and it's a debate that has been raging for hundreds of years. So let's look at the evidence, shall we? The case for Shakespeare is pretty strong. His contemporaries, including his rival Ben Jonson, said he was the guy. And we've got legal documents with his name on them, proving he was an actor and a shareholder in the company.
But the case for doubt is seriously intriguing. For starters, his own wife and kids were illiterate. His will is super specific. He famously left his wife his second best bed, but it doesn't mention a single book, play, or poem. Not one. And how did a guy who likely never left England write with such pinpoint knowledge of Italian geography and the inner workings of the aristocracy?
And look, this isn't just some wacky internet theory. It's a compelling enough question to inspire major Hollywood movies, like Anonymous, which pushed the idea that the Earl of Oxford was the real author. The mystery keeps pulling us in, but it's not even the strangest one.
No, the ultimate puzzle, the most Shakespearean twist you could imagine, has nothing to do with who he was in life. It's all about what happened after he died. This is the epitaph carved onto his tombstone, and it's believed he wrote it himself. It's a direct warning, a straight-up curse against anyone who would dare disturb his grave. Grave robbing was a huge problem back then, and he clearly wanted to be left in peace.
And for 400 years, it seems like it worked. Nobody dared to touch the grave. But then, in 2016, for the very first time, archaeologists used non-invasive radar to scan the site and see what was under there. And what they found was absolutely shocking. The scan revealed a big disturbance right at the head of the coffin. The evidence strongly suggests that, at some point, a grave robber defied that curse and stole his skull. There was an old legend that a trophy hunter took it in the 18th century, but everyone thought it was just a spooky story. Well, now we have scientific evidence that says it might actually be true.
And so the mystery only deepens. The man who gave us so many of our words, whose characters feel more real than most people we actually know, is himself the ultimate puzzle. A genius, an icon, and a man whose greatest secrets, and maybe even his own skull, are lost to time forever. It just leaves us asking, after all this time, who was he really?